Being so blue. All right, let's see if oh, it looks like it actually fixed the fake blah, fixed the Facebook thing. Now we're on Twitter, now we're on D Live, now we're on YouTube, and then Twitch is the slow one there. I gotta do some work on that Twitch profile. This is where I'm getting the most randos wandering in here. Facebook, I get nothing. Y'all are y'all are lazy, but it is 6 in the morning. Good lord. All right, so I guess that works. I just did a little tune up on our channels on our multiplexer. So now this should be going everywhere. Good lord. Yeah, I don't like to see complete rewrite in my game plan there. Yeah, so if you are never seeing this before or never want to see it again, all right, let me kill that. Spent all day yesterday instead of designing a card game. Not good for progress. Yes, hello. I'm Zach ZYZ. This is my early morning editing stream. I do this every day. And shall continue. Oh, damn it. Is that you, Jira? It says, are we writing or training cards today? No, we're going to get back to writing. I have a job to do. So, welcome, Jira. Steadfast friend, early in the morning. What are you doing up so early, by the way? I'm just doing it because it's a symptom of deep depression. No, my sleep schedule is this basically. I guess I've been fighting against it since the start of COVID. I'm trying to think of when I really started not being able to sleep well. I haven't slept yet. I've got some IRL shit that's keeping me up at night. Nothing serious. I just don't cope with anxiety well. I got to tell you, I don't cope with anxiety particularly well either. It doesn't keep me up though, for the most part. But yeah, like any kind of losing a job or upheaval or whatever, I'm not a fan. Or having to like get into a gang fight or yeah, anytime I get in like a fist fight or whatever, it's gonna keep me up for a couple of days. It's like the violence like settles into your bones and just rattles there, and it takes a while for the vibration to die down. Mm. I didn't talk about it on the I think I talked about it on the editing stream. I caught a thief the other day. Maybe I'll say it again just to say it, as I'm proud of uh, what went down. So I was in Times Square, and let me see, what did I just done? I just worked for like a long time, and then I was tired and blah 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 blah. So I see a guy running towards at 42nd Street. There is just as you get to 8th Avenue on the left hand side, there's a subway platform that goes down past like the Wax Museum and the tourists and so forth. It's chaos over there. Just fat tourists and I love NY hats as far as the eye can see. So I see a guy running towards me, holding a gym bag, and he's booking it right, and he runs into this old lady. He's like, "Get out the way," and shoves her and like starts running down the escalator. And behind him, I can see a bunch of cops running over, and uh, suddenly it appears to me that this is not his gym bag that he's holding, and in fact, he is trying to abscond with someone else's possession. So to the left of the escalator, there is a set of stairs. So I run down that set of stairs. Now, as some of you may know, I have a pretty significant injury to my knee from a time where I was riding a bicycle in the bike lane, and a guy driving a car decided he would also like to drive in the bike lane. So but I was stupid in the moment. So I chased him down the stairs and ran after him and caught up with the guy as he's like, because he's shoving people aside in the escalator. I could just run down the fucking stairs. And so he is trying to melt into the crowd once he gets to the bottom there. And there's two police officers there, and they can hear a ruckus up above. And I just point him out. I'm like, that's the guy. Boom. And there's actually a fucking meme in LRH of me doing that with another guy who murdered a guy who lives next door to me. Thanks, Mesk. Anyhow, and so they just grab the dude, right? And then the other police officers come down, and you can just see immediately the look of resignation in the guy's face, like he has been fucking had. Like, he's going to jail tonight. He's going to spend time in jail for a little bit. The stolen gym bag is hopefully going to be repatriated to its original owner. And I just got on my fucking train and went home. No, I think we didn't go home. I went and got bubble tea, which sucked. Don't go to Gong Cha. And then I went to Guitar Center with my homie, and they bought a Cordoba C7. So and then I got to fuck around with synthesizers and uh, bang on conga drums and stuff like that. So it was all in all a pretty good day. Um, but now you know. So and knowing is half of the battle. So and then at the end of the day, you have to think like, did I do a good thing by helping to catch a pickpocket right there? Because the guy stole he stole somebody's shit, right? Obviously a negative. Lord only knows why he was stealing a fucking gym bag, right? Um, but at the same point, his life is now fucking ruined, right? I think like aggravated snatching or whatever. And he's probably already got a record if you're at the point where you're just ripping shit off there. So that could easily, like, if it's a probation violation, he could be going back to jail for years. Um, which, given the just between you and me, the purse snatcher was a Democrat, so there's a decent chance that if you're at the point where you're snatching purses in Times Square, which is a stupid fucking spot to do it because there's cops everywhere, you may have a criminal record existing. You may already be on probation. So that guy right now, he's locked up right now, right? Absolutely, he's in jail right now. Unless somebody was able to bond him out. I think they might have no cash bail here. But yeah, his life is just going to be a fucking nightmare of court trials and cases and so forth for the next little bit. And had I not jumped down the stairs and chased after him, he might have got away. And then afterward, I was real shaky on the knee, like, this is going to be all right or whatever. And I think in almost all circumstances, I would choose to pursue after that. But eventually, it's going to get me fucking shot. There's the other part there. Like, if at some point I have people that rely on me other than IRC nerds, that's going to get me fucked over at some point. When I first came to the city, I was going to be a fireman. I took the test and I took all that shit, and like that instinct is still there. The like, oh shit, something crazy's happening. Let me get in there. Um, I still have that feeling. And I might have been dead already had I become a fireman. There've been some pretty significant fires in the fuck. It's been a long time. I've been in New York since 2007, I think. So I could have been boinked up in any one of them had I but continued in that. But they didn't pay enough. Yeah, it was like no fucking money at all. I would have had to take a pay cut to become a fireman, even from like the shitty consulting work that I was doing. And I went another route. Whew, but man, I'd be in better shape. I'll tell you that much. Crazy for being so blue. From time to time, like if you were in New York and keep your eyes open and so forth, the opportunity will sometimes present itself to do something that I think most people would say is objectively good, even though like even good acts have consequences. And like I can think of like 4 or 5 times in New York where I've been able to like help a stranger or prevent a crime or something like that. But then you have to balance that against all the crimes that I commit, right? So, and my my general negative impact on strangers, which I've been working on weekly for the longest of times. So it's not. I think if I'm weighed in the balance, I'm still going to be found wanting. But I don't know. Good way to start the morning there. Um, yeah, that was stuck in my mind for a little bit right there. Because one like about I haven't really told too many people about it happening. Like one on the show, it walks right into the jaws of that meme, and people would just think I'm making it up. And then two, among my friends, there would be a certain segment of people where they're like, "How could you ever help the police apprehend a young Democrat?" And um, it, that's how they feel. They really feel like even though this guy stole somebody's bag and ran with it and was perfectly content, like shoving old ladies out of the way as he was running from the police, he'd be all right. Like he should just let him go. It's not worth it. Um, which is not particularly a society that I would like to live in, where where we're just like, fuck it, you know, you want to steal somebody's bag, don't get your bag stole, you know. It's all well and good to say that shit until until it happens to you and somebody steals your shit. Um, no, like like really and truly, I mean, that's the differentiation between what I would call actual friends and like acquaintances and so forth. Like your actual friends, you can tell who you really are, and then your acquaintances, they have to wear the mask, you know, and just be like, oh, that's great, yeah, that sounds, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, let's mask up and do, yeah, yeah. So, and I would say as I get older, you know, true friends are fewer and farther between because I don't put as much effort into maintaining them as I need to. And even acquaintances are more distant as we get deeper into the bore. Oh, we got the Emperor of Finland. Why? What's going on with all the Finnish people on the stream? And then there's Donkey Pounder 43. I'm just talking with Jira for the moment. We got to start writing in a second. Rewriting, by the way, which is the worst kind of writing. And then I see Milkness in the chat as well. So I will say that we're making some good organizational strides. What was it? The somebody had me pick up the Finnish national epic. The what is it? The Kalevala, whatever. We found somebody who was translating the Kalevala in the stream yesterday, and I was so impressed with what she was saying about the Kalevala that I picked up a copy of the 1989 translation of it, and I started reading it, and I'm like, this is dope. I'm only a a song or two into it, I guess, but really enjoying it, to tell you the truth. The translation is good. It does a really good job of setting that like kind of Beowulfy, we're about to go on an adventure, and it's like a bard spinning his tale in an inn at the beginning of it. Really getting like strong the Odyssey vibes from it, like right off the bat. So I'm excited to go through it. I like epics and odysseys and stuff. All right. Stuff Donkey Pounder, big fan of your. Who are you on IRC? Donkey Pounder 43. I can't tell who you are. But thanks for all the work that you do on our nation's donkeys. This is like an intrinsically funny word. I was just donkey. I never talked. All right. This is probably wisest to never talk on IRC. I don't know if you have seen the epic struggle that I go through every day just to chat on FNet. But yeah, you got to put some fucking work in to be there and like be a public face on there. Is don't do it. Don't let anybody know who you are. God, I'm dealing with crazy people reporting my streams and death threats and this, that, and blah, 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 blah. That's all very old. All right. So what are we doing here? If you are just joining us for the first time, this is the Rapasaurus. The Rapasaurus is an epic dungeon crawl. Although the word epic doesn't truly fit here because it's not like, oh, the fate of the world hangs in the balance and so forth. Although it might be because we can really play up a couple of threads to increase the stakes of this story, which is something that we're considering with this rewrite. Do we want it to have more impact than just these localized characters? The differentiation between epic fantasy and regular old fantasy, I would say that this falls into like the grim dark dungeon delving kind of what is it? Felix and Gortusk, Conan the Barbarian. That's the genre that I'm trying to be in. A kind of grittier, more adventure, more local stakes type situation. Oh wait, somebody banned the entire range for every Alberta customer of TELUS because I tried connecting one day and saw it was banned. Yeah, you can just message me and I will unset the ban immediately. It was me that banned the entirety of TELUS, and it was I thought TELUS was I guess TELUS. I think QPT was using it for some reason, so maybe he's in Alberta. He's trying to tell us that he's not in Australia, but and he's supposed to be in Arizona or whatever. But anyhow, we have continual figures that get banned all the time there. All right, so Rapasaurus is the story about a thief who steals a magic orb from the tower of an archmage, Arath the Unraveler. And his daughter at the time is supposed to be watching the orb, but she is busy screwing her boyfriend. And in fact, the thief breaks in mid screw and just yoinks this magic orb, and they chase after him, but they're not able to catch him. That young thief is Rigel. He carries the orb back to his cruel master, the pimp Herkimer Halfking, and gives him the orb in exchange for the freedom of his mother and sister. But surprise, his mother and sister have been prostitutes in his employ for so long that they are unwilling to go back to their village. They think that everybody will know what they have been doing in the city, that they won't be able to find a husband for the sister, and they decide to remain as whores, and young Rigel is crushed. So he is planning to murder Herkimer Halfking and just stab him with the dagger of the nobleman, which was thrown at him and stuck in his shoulder as he was in flight. The dagger that he still has, by the way, and should maintain throughout the story. Now that I'm talking about it there, but as he's about to go upstairs to murder the pimp, a character Fish comes down the stairs and informs him that what you were thinking about doing, I've already done. And he's like basically beheaded Herkimer Halfking. So Herkimer Halfking is half headless. And Fish shows him the magic orb and says that it is the key to an incredible treasure. And he tells Rigel, you can come with me and get some of this treasure, or you can stay here and everybody will think that you were the one that murdered Herkimer. So great choice. And so they proceed up the river on an epic camping trip to the legendary Rapasaurus to open it up with this magic ball. Meanwhile, El Shala, the daughter of Arath, and her paramour, Revelry Ramos, recruit a couple of guys to help them row to try and catch the canoe of Fish and Rigel. And together they all head up to the dungeon, and they have a showdown with Fish. Fish is able to defeat El Shala and enters the dungeon. And El Shala basically offers an immense sum of money if people will go in with her and try to chase him down, because she is terrified of what will happen if her father finds out that she lost the magic orb. And so that's the setup thus far. I guess that's all of book 1 of Rapasaurus. We're working on book 3 here. And so Rapasaurus is something that I've been working on for a fucking decade. Ugh. It's embarrassing how long I've been writing this story, but it just wasn't very good. And structurally, it is very difficult to write a dungeon crawler. Dungeon crawlers usually have characters that are hopelessly lost, and hopelessly lost often means that the plot is hopelessly lost and meandering, and it's just very difficult to have a narrative that takes place underground, that's in a dungeon and so forth, and just have it be compelling and have good characters and development and so forth. There just aren't that many good dungeon crawling books, and I like dungeon crawlers. I like cut my teeth reading Death Trap Dungeon and playing fucking the Gold Box series and Dungeon Hack and stuff like that. I really like this genre. I like the idea of wandering out. Like a dungeon to me just represents an unending series of puzzles where the problems of the outside world don't really intrude, and it's just about people removed from their ordinary environment, having to use their skills and so forth to survive. So that's what it's meant to be for here. Dystopian world where people were charged with crimes, sentenced to diseases instead of jail time, and how it was being used to establish some tyrannical control. That sounds familiar to me. I can't remember what it was. There's like a story. It's like a Shirley Jackson story where everybody, like, strong people are hobbled to make everybody equal. Yeah. Balderdashery continually rented Death Trap Dungeon. Did you like write in it and like mark it up and stuff? Like leaving yourself and like dog-earing pages so you could go back to them and so forth. It took place in London. There's an area that the sick were banished to. I do that in this particular fantasy world. One of the punishments for criminals is what they're called year ticks, and it's a tick that they will like just that like bites in behind your ear and just burrows into your skin and lives there. So the tick just continually releases toxins that put the person, they like rack with agony, and if you try and pull the tick out, it'll just kill you flat. and like the tick has to go through its entire life cycle, which is X number of years, and it's like a punishment for convicts that they're stuck with one of these ticks, and it just renders them like a racked mess of pain. Uh, well, I don't know why I came up with that. It's creepy as shit. I know, right? Yeah, Xanon Inc. has a lot of shit like that. I don't know if you read Xanon Inc. or not, but it's all about a rainforest full of weird insects and like the rangers that go into there to like harvest valuable resins and carapaces and eggs and stuff like that. So that's the premise of Xanon Inc., which was my first novel. All right, well, now down to the edit. Now that we've just talked my fucking head off there, so I'm all gonna do that. Let me see. All right, so I'm just going through it, trying to figure out what parts of this I want to keep. Okay, so this is we're now deep into like the rewriting here. This is a chapter that hasn't been edited almost at all here. So it's pretty rough. So I'm just going to start in on it there. Let's see. Blah 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 blah. And let me take a look here. So I wrote this idea for what I want to have happen. So this is chapter 314. So what were my goals with this chapter, right? So this is a connecting chapter. It is they're exploring a new region, but each one of these chapters has to have a purpose. Otherwise, why is it in the book? We don't show people just wandering around for no reason. We want to have something that advances the plot. So right now it's 11 pages long, which is probably too long. I'd like to slim it down to about 7. It needs a complete rewrite, and we need to get a little bit more into this character. This is the first chapter that she has in the book here, so it might be worthwhile easing into the fact that it's her POV. What's happening before that? So Rigel, okay, so Yellow Hat has to be like acting a little weird here. So what's happened in terms of the story is that they just climbed up through this giant pit, and Yellow Hat was able to defeat Latrilin, which is the stone spinner. It's one of the like fairly power. I would say they're like demigod type figures. The Rapasaurus is full of these things. They're all trapped there, and their power is being siphoned off by Vadobo, the Grand Jailer there. So Yellow Hat was able to defeat him, and I think we need to show some of the lingering effects of that. So this is something I can establish in the chapter. The fact that something has happened to Yellow Hat as a consequence of killing Latrilin. Because essentially, like when you murder one of these things, you start to take on some of their traits or absorb some of their power or blah, 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 blah. So that's happening there. What's happening with Stirs the Hook? Stirs the Hook hates heights and just had to climb for like a really long way. So Stirs is going to be a little bit shaken up there, and it might start. So Stirs is kind of like a slow and lumbering type, so he'll be shaken up a little bit by what's happening there. All right, let's write some of this in. Okay, and we're gonna comment all this shit here, and we'll get it out. And X. So what I do is, as I'm working on things, I just take the instructions that I leave for myself and I put them into comments. Okay, so changes for rewrite. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. and that's a thread. I could have the microphone to be a bit louder if it's possible. How loud are we there? Yeah, I guess I could crank it up if you really feel like it. I run around 20% audio. Is usually more than enough to have some auto slider adjustment on Twitch. Yeah, we're probably pretty quiet at the moment. It's early in the morning, so I'm not talking super loud. All right, hold on. Let me. Crazy for being so crazy. Ugh. You know, if I were smart, there we go. So that's about 10. What level am I hitting? Why can't I see? There we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's better. It's like 10 decibels of gain that we put on there. Yeah. So now I'm loud. A part of it too is I'm talking a little quieter here, than I normally would. No, it's fine. I'm happy to turn it up there. If I were smart, I would have hooked my. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I just need to. Okay, yeah, and then I can hear the gate in the background too. So we've just pumped a lot of stuff into it. Like I said, I need to do the seasonal adjustments for my microphones. So when I turn on air conditioners and so forth, I have to adjust the noise gates on my microphone. Everything in my studio runs through a Simchex Air Tools X2, which is really cool. But it also means that when air conditioners and stuff go on, the gate is at the wrong level. Yeah, we're about to have air conditioners going here. It's starting to get hot. 23 degrees centigrade. Let me see. It's like what, 80 degrees? Celsius. Why did I say centigrade? That's not what I want. Oh, it's like 70 degrees there. So to us, 70 degrees is like cool. Well, the room would be 30 degrees if I did not. Yeah, I sleep at night with. I sleep every night at 15 degrees. Like I want the room to be 15 degrees Celsius. And then it's getting to be 90. I guess yesterday it was getting closer to, I guess, like 28, 29. It's never under 25 C in the room. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just drink iced coffee every morning, Jira. Okay. Let's get out of all these and then get into. You can tell I really do not want to rewrite this chapter. Like yesterday, we designed a whole card game. Now I'm talking about whatever. All right, let's get into this. So for this chapter, we need to edge into her, show more, edge into her POV, show her deepening fears about Arath, give a. Okay, cool. Done. So this chapter needs to be reaching around a negative 40 centigrade. Whoa, what the hell? That's crazy. Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a brutal summer in New York City here. Really and truly, because we did not have much of a winter. We didn't really have any significant snow. The PC generates heat, and the apartment is meant to store heat. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I have probably about 20 synthesizers in this room, and there's like one giant PC and about 5 screens, and there are probably like 10 computers going all the time in this room. So yeah, air conditioning is a factor in the summer, and I'm just here all day long goofing off. So that's how I live. All right, so I'm gonna start rewriting here. Here's the thing. So we just recently restarted doing the stream here. What I have found is that rewriting and writing are not very effective on the stream. I don't think that it's good entertainment for the first part. Because it's boring to just see a guy scowling at a screen and just struggling with the rewriting. But I told myself I would spend the whole month of May trying to see if I could get over the hurdle and find to where I was like effectively writing on stream. My target rate for writing is between 1,500 and 2,500 words a day. It would be great if I could get to 5K, but I very seldom have 5K in me a day, and usually I'm good for a couple of hours. What I find with the stream is that I'm like fucking around talking about what temperature it is and not really working. But I'm giving it the month of May here because one, it's useful just to talk to people who are involved in writing. Like I'm getting good book recommends. Sometimes people have like a good idea about the story, and then two, just like ultimately, I'm not very good at marketing the books on my own. And if I could build up some kind of decent presence on Twitch, it would be extremely helpful when these books are going to release to just be able to say to people who are already invested, like, hey, this is going on there. But so far, it hasn't been working well. But whatever, we'll see what's happening. So I will tell you that I don't respond as much to chat when I'm rewriting. During editing, it's a very interactive process, and it's great to like work with people and so forth. So I'll take a stab at this for maybe an hour or so. So I'll just feel free to have this on the background. I'm not doing anything super fancy. I will try to look at chat when I can, but I'm going to try and focus and see if I can get something done. Um, it may be that it's just impossible to do this with like all these screens on and people from IRC and whatever, but I'm trying to overcome my inherent ADD, which is very powerful. I'm finding. So I'm gonna give it a shot. Ultimately, what I think I may need to do, honestly, and I've tried to do this before and it hasn't really worked for me, I may need to take 2 hours and write at the start of every morning and then just do an hour of editing as the stream. So yeah, if this doesn't improve just in terms of output relatively soon, I will start doing that. Keep you quiet company and won't chat. Oh, thank you. That's nice of you. Um, but yeah, that's just basically what's running through my mind. I wasn't sure when we started if I could effectively edit novels on Twitch, and I found out that it was much more effective to edit on Twitch, and it just wound up being great. Now I'm not certain if I can find a way to effectively write novels and rewrite novels on Twitch, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it like a month because the editing stream was not easy to pick up either. I had to find like the things that worked on it, like giving people points was useful and so forth. All right. Let me just read. Let's just read through this chapter once more. All right, I know all that's going to go. So what else happens here? And so we have like issues with Slanky and then the Temple and Glare. I think that can, yeah, there's like some very neckbeardy shit in here. Now let's center in her POV. So this is important. So what actually happens in this chapter is that they go through this broken hallway. They find an orb that is still intact. She fires something off of after it. It crashes down. She tries to shield them all and is injured. Witch wax, blah, 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 blah. It wears her out so much, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we spend so much time on different bullshit. This really can be a 7-page chapter. All right, and it's only half of what happens here. Okay, so those are the beats that I want to hit there. Hard to go through like this complete rewrite. All right, and so here's how we're gonna have to do it here. We'll put that in the background, and then we'll just refer to it as we're going along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and when I do my chapters, I always left orient it. The first word, the first line of the chapter, I left orient it, and 3 spaces under my my 3 spaces under my chapter title. El Shala. I put down whose POV the chapter is in normally, just as a quick reference for as I'm scrolling through it. And then I just put any notes to myself in comments there. There are a lot of 72 comments in this book, and most of them are stuff that I need to do. All right, so let's get into it here. So what's happening? There. All right. Adriate resumed her long way down. Yeah, I think I need to just get into the writing in the morning without like the preamble and talking to people because I've burned off like a lot of that creative energy streaming. So they're drawing from the same well. Mm-hmm. 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 La, da, la, la, la. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do play music when I write, but one I've read that having music on is less effective when you're editing. The other is that just Facebook is always fucking complaining and blocking my videos when I have music on. So potentially I could just use a different set of headphones and do that. I've done that before, and then people can put on their own music or whatever. It's a shame that there is not like a network wide royalty free decent music for people that just want to have their shit on streams. Really, like UMG and BMI and so forth, they all need to I've said this before, but they need to get together and have a music streaming license where you can just pay like $100 a year to stream music and be done with this bullshit, right? I would happy. Why can't I pipe in music just for you over your phones? Well, I could, except that like I'd have to go arrange the board and so forth. Some of it would leak through into the microphone, and ultimately, it's just in terms of output. generally people write more and they write better without music on. But yeah, often I'll write with music on. Well, it's just if I'm going to put it on, I need to make a command decision that I have to just be okay with every Facebook stream getting blocked. And um, while we're spending this month trying to get into, I'm like essentially trying to build a new type of routine here, where I'm effectively writing every morning and effectively streaming. And I guess we're trying to like build a community and stream at both times. It's just annoying too. They send me emails and so forth. I should be able to just pay. I would pay $1,000 a year for that license, just to not have to deal with copyright bullshit. But it's just not how it's set up at the moment. You know, like so many facets of life just usually have music in the background, and it's just um, these like greedy copyright cocksuckers have really made it kind of impossible. Yeah, you could just be like live streaming, and then a car drives by playing "I Can't Get No Satisfaction," and boom, your stream is down, and you might even get a strike on your channel as a result of bullshit in the background that you can't do anything about. All right, let's let me get back to it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I'm gonna try today just silent, and if it doesn't work out, Facebook will just have to fucking block me. I don't really get any traction on Facebook either. I'm just doing that so that my relatives can be like, "Oh, he's alive." Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. right, so how tall is this hall? Oh, let's see. Ceiling. It is 133 feet off of the ground. So this is what we're getting at here. I have not been there. Kind of gaudy when you really look at it. I could do better. No. Yeah, it does look gaudy since you had like all the they cleaned all the soot of ages off of it there. It really added something. Yeah. But I bet back in the day it was so much harder to have things that were like clean and fresh. Um, like if you really think about it, let's journey back to the time of Michelangelo. How many times are you going to just see like these clean fields of like very solid color where everything around you is just covered essentially like people just wallowed in pig shit 24 hours a day and everything was dirty and dusky, especially the people. Italians. Um, but oh yeah, the Greco-Roman, all their sculptures and so forth, where they just painted them to look like clowns to us nowadays. But I mean, keep in mind, like the color schemes that we find appropriate are just based on what's around us that's common, and then we gravitate towards the things that are uncommon, because they're new, right? So at their time, I'm sure that like just having like big fields of solid color um, is like much more common, and like also we have like a hint of what they used to be there, but we're not seeing the total story of everything that was there. You know, there's a lot of paint changes over time too. I'm not saying that it becomes brighter, um, but yeah, just a lot goes on as paint ages, so we can't really know. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's much harder to make colors back in the. I've made like paint and there's no easy feat to like get like good colors and so forth. I have the same problem where like the paint I use is Rust-Oleum and it only comes in about 7 or 8 colors. Because it has this like very interesting surface level effect that I like. But I digress. Mm-hmm. All right, trails of flashing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mhm. Oh, I like kaleidoscopic. Um, no, we can't use kaleidoscopic. That's too much. Mm. Oh, what do we got there? Emperor of Finland. Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah, I know it's slow while we're rewriting, but now I feel like I'm getting deeper into the cut here. Um, I'll probably also turn off the notification sound, or change it to. Well, we cranked up fucking everything there. Um, I'll probably change the notification sound to just be like, keep writing, pay attention, or I'll do that later. Like focus. Yeah, just like some old Chinese guy hitting me with a ruler and telling me to keep writing. Nice. Okay, cool. So initially we just had that shit. I like now the paragraph has um them like, oh shit, it's gems, and then they get closer and it's just fucking glass. Classic Rapasaurus move. All right, cool. And you can see like my writing practice where it just takes me. I want you to look at how that went down. How it was probably like 45 minutes, or when did we start doing this nonsense? So it took me. Jira piped up at 6:10. Right. It is 7:10 right now. So we spent roughly an hour to get a paragraph. And if you want to think about it, just realize if you want to realize the intensity of what I have done, right? The fact that this is like 900 pages long, and just realize that like every morning, like the writing practice is like a little more visible now because I have all these things that can distract me. But just realize like that's morning, every morning, like going through that same process of being distracted and like fumbling around and like writing ahead like all these paragraphs and then discarding them and moving back and forth. That's every morning. Just that same pulling teeth, whatever. Like eventually I'll get into some kind of flow and then we'll get some real progress. Every morning for 20 years, just doing that that pace, that exact pace. And I have 6 books that are out that we've completed, right? And you've seen like how the editing and so forth goes. So just keep that in mind when you're like piping something into Chat GPT and it's spitting back its nonsense and so forth. And like I'm going very slow here comparatively to like how most writers work, but essentially like it's the same, just a different scale of time. Every morning, paragraph by paragraph, line by line, word by word, and that's not even good. This paragraph is not good yet. It needs. We'll have to rewrite this like 3 or 4 times. Um, I like it so far, but it's not. So, and this is better than what we had before, but still, every morning, just the amount of time and energy put into this. And this is a typical Rapasaurus move. How can they tell it's just glass by looking at it in dim light? You can tell the difference between cut gems and pieces of glass. We're gonna get into how that works out. But yeah, you can. They're not. Oh, okay. So what's happening? What's happening is like because we initially set up the chapter as if like, oh, there's gems and so forth. Um, this is actually like a good point here because we're misdirecting the reader. Um, okay, so just there with that like one line, this is a spot where like having people looking at it is good because like immediately you're telling me there because we do that misdirect like, oh, they're gemstones and so forth. Um, there we go. That's decent. All right, so here's a spot where one of them could say something poignant about. Uh, we're gonna get into all the crunching into powder beneath a boot and so forth. Um, and no, like actually, if you ever like you've walked on a glass beach before, it doesn't crumble to powder, right? Um, like glass is tougher than you would think. Um, uh, Maybe you haven't walked it. So there are beaches where like almost the entire beach is just pieces of glass that are shattered up and so forth. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do we got here? I like the dunes of disappointment. It reminds me of the Bloom Dunes at Paradise clip. You remember when I was telling that guy about all the turquoise that I had? All right. Let me power up with like a little more coffee. I'll be right back. Mm-hmm. All right, there we go. Oh yeah, yeah. No, you're like a tribulation that I have to bear, Milkness, 100%. But also super useful. I mean, there's a good bit of feedback there. If we were only doing an edit, you would get a point. That's going to be a lot. I think I have to harken back to the first rewrite of Rapasaurus and give some of those points to people. I disagree. I'll close the chat window. See, all right. So I would just say, um, just watch or do not watch. Yeah. Because when you say like I'm just gonna close the window, or and this is just like a good general note, right? Um, there's an expectation in your comment there. Yeah, the BRE. I will close the chat window and keep the stream open, so I live up to the quiet company remark from earlier or whatever. But even there, I don't know if you see it there, but there's an expectation that people will interact with you. You're like saying something, but it's also like had like a little attention. You know what I mean? Like, don't forget about me, guys. Which is just like a woman to do that particular thing. Both me and Jira are like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, I'll wind up chasing her away forever. There if I don't let up. But yeah, I'm familiar with this dynamic. Let's just say that. Oh. But I should be lucky that anybody will put up with this whole thing because it's boring alone. Keep that in mind. Um, it is boring to do this on my own. That's why I'm streaming here. Like I don't I don't mind if people are saying shit on the screen. It's up to me to not get distracted. This really is kind of like a Shaolin training for me. If I can get over it and overcome my intense flightiness, I will become stronger. Mhm. Mhm, mhm. La da 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 da. Okay, I think. Oh, all right. So this is before he. Um. So, we're giving her like a little bit of insight there about triggering an addict, which she may or may not. She's described as being like somewhat street. She's more streetwise than Revel. Certainly, we see in like the very early scenes of the book there. But again, this is was in our notes for the last thing that we really have written El Shala to be like much older than her years, and she would like fall under like a precocious character too, just because she's raised by an archmage. But also we don't want her to be too old. So and we haven't like really gifted this character with significant flaws, which is a mistake. So this chapter is a good place to get into that. Hmm. Okay, cool. So now, so I use pace throughout this book to mean yard. I really like one part of fantasy writing that's kind of a pain in the ass is like you don't want to get so deep into it that you're like creating your own units, right? But also just using, you can't use metric at all. Metric just feels weird in like a fantasy story, and imperial units don't feel quite right either. They're like you don't want to like because there's too much specificity, right? I don't want to say that the roof was like 137 feet above them, even though that might be my idea. Over specificity is poison to somebody who's trying to nebulously like imagine a fantasy scene here. So I like to use units where the reader isn't exactly certain how big they are. Like I use pace, and because a pace is about 3 feet, give or take, for um, like one stride is whatever. Stuff like arm's length, and then I'd like to use, instead of miles, I use leagues, because I think people, you don't immediately hear the word league and think of how far it is, and I think it just sounds cool. Um, but it might be insufferable to the reader. I have no way of knowing until somebody comments on like a an Amazon page. It's like, this is fucking stupid. So I've thought about that too, like old units like Skrit and like Showens and like yeah, like Paces, Skrit, Arshins. I like those old units. Um, but also I can't fly so far afield that like the modern reader who's not going to spend the time to like infer from context has to like look it up there. So it's like kind of like a delicate balance in how old you can get. I do like Shonis. In some places they what was it, like I think the acre was like a length of chain that you could use, and so sometimes people will use chains as this was in the Nilacombe chapter that we were just doing too, where like where fathoms come from, like where knots come from. It's all super neat, like these historical units of measurement. And it might make sense to just instead of like having this kind of hodgepodge of different units throughout the book, just pick like a bunch of old fantasy units and like standardize them throughout all the stuff that I do in the world. But so far, like I've kind of naturally fallen into that, just using paces for distance, and then using leagues for big units of distance. Also, it's weird that I looked into it because I was trying to talk about like acres of water, and there aren't those measurements for water and like areas of the ocean and so forth. If they are there, they're all like hexa, kila, acres, and stuff like that. I thought that there would be units for like measuring the area of water, but they're just not there. And because we don't have a purpose to measure water in that way, they just use acres for lakes, I guess. But it's neat to see where the language goes and flows and so forth. Oh, I should put that the editing stream is in LRH. I could maybe swing Tulpa in here to say hi. Let me see. No, 300 paces wide is too fucking wide. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Let's see. What is the name? What's the name for the structure that like holds glass in place? Yeah, retainer clips. That's not it. Here we go. Ambient light, intake glass. Oh, this is going to be useful. An armature. That's what I want. Fix into a wall. Arteco Arioli, autonomous panel, baptistery, awning window, Baroque, Bajas, bay window, buttering. Okay. Calms. Originally lead, but zinc brass. Oh, yeah, I've used those. Is that what they're called? Form a stained glass window. A canopy. Oh, cool. Yeah, so it is like a canopy of stained glass. This is great. Chancel, the U-shaped channels. Cool. All these are the words I'm looking for. Caused by mixing minerals through the hot glass, commercial glass. Composition, copper foil. I've used that. Crackle, cruciform cusp, Dal de Verre. A thick slab of cast stained glass that is cut and broken and cemented into a panel with an epoxy adhesive matrix. Wow. I like dichroic glass. Double glazing. Okay, so it's an armature of channels. Fenestration, arrangement of windows in a structure. Flemish glass, frosted glass. German new antique. Grisaille. A lot of these terms are French. Oh wow, this is interesting. Halation is a phenomenon where light-colored glass, when surrounded by darker glass, seems to spread beyond the actual boundaries, creating a halo effect. Oh, that's cool. I wonder if that word means anything else. The act of light surrounding some object as if making a halo. The blurring of light around a photographic. Oh, okay. So halation would come up like a lot in monitors or like that old CRT glow. Neat. I like it. Um, so that would be like a much more common usage than whatever. Okay, that's cool. Here, hold on. Stained glass dictionary. In situ, isothermal glacis, iridescence, jewel. All these are like really good words. Uh, so it is a matrix. Uh, matrix is an opaque material used as a cement to hold air. Mullions are a vertical strip dividing the panes of a window. Okay, I knew some of that. The narthex. What? Oh, this is a cool word. Muntin, Norman slabs, North side, obscure. An oculus is a circular window without. Okay, this I knew. Opaque, OSHA, paint for glass. Palladium window. Oh yeah, is that what they call it? Like a window where it's got like the three panels, and then the center one is wider, and it has an arch at the top. Oh, that's neat. Pivoted window, paint glass plating points. An architectural held in place with zinc rather than lead. Huh. Quarries are. Oh, cool. Diamonds are rectangles of glass leaded together in a lattice design. So I didn't know that the presbytery was the east end. Yeah, there's like that whole verbiage around like the architecture of churches. Refrigerator shelf glass. Huh. Remy. Let's see. Reredos. The screen at the back of the altar. Ripple glass. Saddle bar. Okay, yeah, I didn't even think about it. Like all the different armatures and like the saddle bar and stuff like that. Like how heavy like all these glass things are, and that they would have to reinforce with like steel bars driven into the steel or iron bars driven into whatever. Okay, cool. Slumped. Glasses have been melted in a kiln to achieve undulating and textural effects. Neat. Streaky, support bars, T-bar, thermal shock. Yeah, I've seen. I might get into. So I'm. If I move out of the city into a place where I can have like basically the perfect life for me would just be like just having like a big warehouse studio to live in, which is like all one room with a toilet dead center, and it's nothing but like giant green screens behind me and studio lighting and machines and shit. Um, basically never having a girlfriend ever again. But yeah, I would definitely like to get some warehouse studio type space where I could just have machines and um, like just have the room to do. Like I'd love to do like Italian hot glass and work with glass. I wish you the best, but I don't know. People stay in NYC far longer than they would prefer. Yeah, almost nobody moves out of the city. I never meant to be in New York more than 3 years. I was supposed to move to California, so I've been here since like what 15 or 16 years now. I really do like it here though. Like I like my neighborhood. I like the people in it. I like how fucking crazy it is. Like I have a good time being here. I had a great day yesterday, just like walking around, uh, like fucking doing all the. Wait, why am I so low on battery? On hold, charging on hold, rarely used on battery. It's charged to full now, asshole. Why would you charge on hold? Battery is not charging. The fuck are you doing? All right, there we go. Now it's charging. I have no idea why it was doing. Tympanum. All right. These are all good words for getting into our description. Is lattice what I want? Trellis is maybe closer to what I want. I don't want to use web because I just got out of there. It's not a grid. Lattice is pretty close. Trellis is more. Lattice and trellis are synonymous. So trellis, I would think of more of like this. Yeah, something for plants to grow on. Whereas a lattice is Yeah, let's see. Mhm. A model of tuning relationships in a just intonation system consisting of array points and a period multidimensional pattern. What the fuck? And there's order theory? That's crazy. Let me see. All right, so Lattice has more of a flat type thing. And Matrix has the feeling of something irregular, a cavity or mold in which anything is formed. This is more what I want. A womb. Interesting. That's crazy. But Matrix is too technical sounding, and like there's too many associations with the Matrix. You know, red pill, blue pill, blah 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 blah. Let's get closer to lattice. Is essentially what we're looking for is an iron frame overhead. Okay. Mm-hmm. I feel old whenever I make references to the Matrix or Fight Club. I think young people still watch that shit, but not like we watched it, where it means something to them. Now it's just a like, yeah, this really says a lot about transgender ideology. You know. Now, um, M Night Shyamalan, whatever. Wait, was he the one that did Fight Club? Who's the director of that? Who directed that? No, David Fincher. Okay. There's a scene in Fight Club where they go and mass erase the tapes at Blockbuster. That can't be true. They can't be that old. Fuck. Oh no, they could. They could absolutely be that old. I remember because I used to go to Blockbuster and get their self-sealing laminating patches, and I would use them to print off fake Alaskan IDs so that other guys at the base could get drunk. I would sell them. Yeah, yeah. I used the self-laminating pouches from Blockbuster Video, and I also made. Um, this is. I'm ashamed. I'm not ashamed of this now because I was just a stupid fucking kid. But I made some of like iron-on shirts. You know that used to be a thing back then where you would just print on your inkjet or one. And wait, I can't say this on stream. I'll tell you on IRC. I think you know where I'm going. But fuck. All right, I don't care about David Fincher. Although Fight Club was good for its time. I liked it. Let me see. Lattice work. Okay, cool. So there we're. We'll just get into this guy. Also, why do I have a fucking Finder window open? Here, I don't need you, Finder. I guess it's always going to have some kind of Finder that you can tab to. Okay. I mean, it's not hard to figure out where I was going at. Young man trying to shock people and be offensive. I mean, I get banned off of this Twitch too. Oh, God, I was such an asshole back then, and still am. Still am. Nothing has changed. If anything, I've gotten worse because I should know better by now. All right, what do we got here? Um. All right. So what do we call it? A stain? What is a mosaic exactly? Collage. Motley tessellation. Tessellation might actually be good for me. Tessellated form. All right, let's. I hate that their definitions are so shitty. Like wick tessellation. All right, so what is a tessellation exactly? It's a tiling pattern with no gaps. Okay, cool. I kind of like that. Uncountable, the property or fact of tessellating. I finished my translation again. Everything about it was horrible, especially the way it flows. Like, have all the sentence words in wrong order, the finish order. I cannot show it to you. I'm sorry. I am too afraid, and my anxiety kicked back in. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. The other part of it too is like, are you just translating as a hobby, or are you trying to make a commercial product? Because if it's a hobby and you just want to get practice in translation, there's nothing wrong with just working on it. Like just to I know some class translators, right? These are just people that are um, somewhere in my like circle of acquaintances and so forth. I know a Catalan translator where she's among the best in the world, right? I don't know any young translators that are among the best in the world. I know I know, like as an acquaintance, Ken Liu, who was the translator for the Body Problem, and he's a brilliant guy, right? Or one of the translators. They used a few different translators. He is a brilliant guy, super smart, right? But even he was older when he translated the Three Body Problem, and probably an older person could have done it. Translation is a little bit of an old person's game, right? Because it takes a long time to read enough and to like acquire the because like I'm not even sure if this is a word I want. You need like an almost lexicographical fluency in both languages, and that kind of you just have to be so familiar with the culture of both parts. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do business translation, right? Or just translate for the sheer fun of figuring out like the differences between the two languages and what it says about the people and so forth. But all the people I know who are involved in like high level literary translation are older. They're in their mid 30s at like the least, I would say. And some of them are older than that too. So you knowing that you were like 23, just keep in mind, like it's too soon unless you were raised bilingual in the two languages, unless you were like raised in a bilingual household and just like natively have that fluency in the two things. Um, I am not in a condition for work, so I do it for fun. Yeah, if you're doing it for fun, it doesn't matter if it's good or not, right? Like this is the most critical thing that I have learned in my time. Like I love playing around with synthesizers and playing the drums and like making weird sounds and so forth. But I don't like, I'm never going to do that professionally. It's too late in life. Like this is just something that I do for fun. Right. So I don't worry if the stuff that I make is shitty and I don't show it to other people for the most part because I show everybody the writing that I do because I'm doing this professionally. Right. It needs to be good. And I feel like I put in the 20 or 30 or however many years to where it should be good. Right. But like, yeah, you don't have to show other people your stuff if it's not good, as long as you are enjoying the process of doing it. And like showing other people is more when you want to get their feedback and you feel like you're ready to take the step towards something that's for other people. When you're doing something that's just for you, it doesn't have to be good, right? It only has to be good to the point where you're having fun with it. And the longer that you're doing something, the more fun that you'll have at it. Because you're good at it. Like you see me scowling up here and so forth, as we're like hacking through this rewrite and so forth. But keep in mind, like while I'm working on this and while I'm editing and when I have the finished product, I'm overjoyed. Like this is the best part of my day. I really enjoy it. And I could not say that I was like really enjoying writing for easily like the first 5, maybe 10 years I was working on it. Like I would never get something done and be like happy with it. It was just a struggle, right? So and it's a metaphor for like almost everything that you're going to do in your 20s. You can't enjoy it because you want to be so much better than you are. But part of getting better is finding the enjoyment of it and like feeling satisfied and like your level of mastery and like realizing like there's always room to grow. 'Cause, yeah, man, people hold themselves to like these impossibly high standards, but like nobody starts good, right? And even the people that have like that flashy, like, oh, they're amazing, like at the start talent and so forth, they don't have a lifetime of good things in front of them. They usually have like one or two things where they're good and flashy, and then the fact that they haven't done the background work often catches up with them. So it's critical to understand that some of these skills take a lifetime to get good at. Um, I want the feedback, but I'm way scared. It's mostly because of my mental state. I know I can't handle too much critique now without it feeling like I am no good at anything. Well, you got to fix that, you know. And uh, Definitely the getting stronger to the point like the first 10 years I was doing radio stuff. Like I didn't put my face on it. One, because I was saying horrible things. And then two, I was just like, you know, it was like uncomfortable with how I looked, and just didn't want people to see me, and even for years afterward, I would feel uncomfortable every time I would go like on stream, and sometimes I would just skip a week. It's like, I don't feel like a good person, I can't do it. Um, and just the more that you do things, the more that you interact with other people, the more that you go out and work with other people who are working in your genre, the more you find out that the other people in your genre are exactly as big hacks as you are, right? They're all just fucking around. There's no, for the most part, there's no like incredible geniuses who have it all figured out and so forth. Everybody is just making their way a little bit. Some are better than others, but at the end of the day, you're all in it together. You're all trying to do the same thing. Like, I know a lot of writers where I don't think that their books are good and so forth, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't make them bad people, right? It just means that I don't like that aspect of them. And they're still doing the same thing that I like to do. We can still communicate on that basic level. It's not like I hate them because I don't like the books that they write, right? And people are going to feel the same way too. Most people are too busy being worried that other people will hate them because they're bad, and all the other people around them are just worrying that other people will hate them because they're bad, right? And not all realizing like, hey, they're all kind of shitty together, right? Everybody's at relatively the same level, and some are successful and some fail, and the ones that work hard are more likely to be successful, but they're not always, right? And the ones that are terrible, usually they don't do well, but not always. Sometimes they'll do good. Sometimes they'll have a stroke of luck. So they're, the work that you do is not your identity, right? Like, you have an identity as a human being that has value just through your intrinsic existence and the fact that other people will tolerate you and feed you and be in the same household as you. Like, those are like the valuable things. And what people think on the internet is next to nothing. I don't know what your health condition is, so I'm not qualified to talk on it or whatever. But it is good to like continually be getting yourself out there and meeting other people who are like-minded with you and making friendships and so forth. As long as you keep doing that, and like you're not in agonizing pain every day, and you find something that you like and can work on, life will move on, and you'll have a decent. I can't say how to. I mean, you might be racked with, like you might have eyeballs growing out of your shoulders right now, and they're shrieking in pain every second of the day. I don't know what your situation is, but I think most people have like a reasonably balanced amount of pain and joy in their life. Not everybody. There's some people that are like that, and if you just focus on the parts of your life that are relatively good, you can make it through it one way or the other, or just get really drunk. One way or another. But yeah, man, you're like way too in your head. His mental illness. I don't have pain every moment. I will tell you. And this is just my own personal. I'm not a doctor, right? But this is just my experience of being around people. Everybody I know that has decided that they are mentally ill, even ones that have been diagnosed and like gone on drug regimens and so forth. Everybody who incorporated being, and this is over a period of 20 years, right? I know a lot, and I work in writing, so I meet a lot of people who are like this. Everybody I know who has incorporated the being mentally ill into their identity has suffered as a result of it. Everybody I know that was defiant about their status of mental illness, that was just like, you know what, I'm fine. I'm going to get through it. I'm not all together all the time, but I'm going to work through it. Everybody who disregarded even in cases where they were diagnosed, where people just said, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing it. I don't care if I'm crazy. The people who pushed aside the like idea that they were mentally infirm and just ventured forward and like fought to incorporate their own identity, they have flourished. The people who kind of fixated on the idea that they were mentally ill, that they had a problem and so forth, they have done poorly. Just from my perspective, when you are young, and young I consider to be like year 11 through 25, everybody has like some jagged parts to them that are just hard to deal with. And there really are a lot of people who are just straight crazy and so forth. As they get older, time grinds those sharp edges off. Like when I was probably, I had like a weird life. Like when I was like 17, I was just like hitchhiking all cross country and so forth. When I was in my 20s, I was in the military, all the way up until I was like a man child in my late 20s, living at a hotel in New Orleans. I just had like a wacky life, and I had a lot of negative personality traits that kept me from getting the things that I wanted in life, right? And like people might have called me crazy during that time, but I never personally believed that I was crazy. I thought the things I were doing were pretty cool, and I was just a fucking weirdo, and I would suffer for being that weirdo. And as time went on, like the things about me that I really didn't like um were sanded down by having hardship and just like all the things that happened to me, like a lot of bad things, a lot of good things. They um, grate down on all the parts of you that are unacceptable, and you learn to live with the parts of you that are just always going to be there. That's just the way that you are, and so forth. And everything gets fucking easier as you get older. Um, so yeah, I really caution people about deciding that they are irredeemable when they're young or whatever, because just over the march of years, it's all going to get like a lot easier. It's so much easier to be 35 than it is to be 25, and it's easier to be 25 than it is to be 15, and it's easier, I assume, to be 45 than it is to be 35, and it's very easy to be 105 because you're dead and in hell. Problem solved. So it just it does get easier over time. So don't fucking worry about it so much. And me saying that is worthless to you, right? Because like you still have to deal with like all your anxiety and all the like demons flashing around in your skull and can't. But sometimes it's helpful to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it all gets so much easier. Like you're gonna get better or you won't, but one way or another, you're gonna get used to it because human beings are especially good at adapting to their situations, right? Like even terrible pain eventually goes away, right? Like you get used to it. Even like the loss of grief, right? Like something that you feel like you will never get better. In 2 or 3 years, you'll get better, really and truly. And the people that don't get better, or that it takes them longer to get better and so forth, they're the ones that fixate on the thing. And fixation, this is like therapist type shit that I'm not qualified to talk about there. But everybody who tries to move forward, that focuses on a goal, that tries hard on that goal, that like works and moves towards it and so forth, their life just gets better over time. And the people who tell themselves like I can't do that, or especially the people that get bitter, they start looking around. It's like, why is he successful and I'm not successful? Those are the people where they like turn inward on themselves and they don't progress, and it's just going to take them a lot longer to get where they want to go. So just keep, like from this, I don't look old, but I feel old. Let me tell you, I've been through some shit. But just keep that in mind. That's from my perspective, where I am right now. That's how it seems to go, and there are always exceptions to rules. But you probably, so looking when I look back at being your age, there, I was a lot better off than I thought I was at the time. Right? I was a lot stronger than I thought that I was, and I was more talented than I thought I was, but also more arrogant. I had a lot to learn. I like everybody is too hard on themselves during that time, and you're not even done growing. You're not, in my mind, I don't think of you as an adult. I don't think of somebody who is younger than 25 or who has not had children as an adult until they're like get into their 30s and 40s. And I know that like I think of myself as an adult, but somebody who is like in their 50s or 60s or whatever, they're like, they're just a child. They haven't seen this shit yet. They don't know what's going to happen, right? So it's better than you think it is, and like your life is going to contain about an equal amount of joy and sadness, and you really can choose which aspect of that you're going to reflect on and enjoy. Outside of like if your condition is totally fucking terrible, like if you have ball cancer or you're uh, you know, like constantly attacked by packs of wild dogs or whatever misfortune befalls you, it'll be different. But it's alright. It ain't as bad as it seems. Oh, yeah, what a pep talk. I'm trying to write this chapter. Um, I'm gonna use tessellated because I like tessellations. I do like tiling and like that MC Escher type stuff there. Although it's perilous to be like tripping on acid and start to get into that whole thing. I wonder what that is. There's definitely something. There's some feature in us where we look at repeating patterns and it does something to us. Like the idea. I wonder if it like propels us into the idea of like abstraction and infinity and so forth when we see like these patterns that repeat and then something happens in our mind where we envision them stretching out towards infinity. um, I don't know if I'm getting across what's there, but like if you've ever been completely blasted on acid and just get terrified by bathroom tiles or something like that, or just have like a feeling of hopelessness looking at this might be crazy shit myself here, but have like a feeling of hopelessness looking at a infinitely repeating pattern. Maybe you just have to smoke a lot of drugs for that to happen. But I've definitely been caught in that matrix. So I was about to call them like iron channels, but iron would be terrible for this purpose. Just like it would when it started to rust, the expansion of the rust would shatter the glass panes. Um, yeah. Um, let's take a look in. All right, let's take a look at. All right, so here's wrought iron and stained glass, but I guarantee you can't use iron as the channels between them. Uh, Stained glass, U channels, and so forth. Yeah, I feel like what is the metal around stained glass? Copper. We see copper and zinc and lead. Um, oh, I could just have like a lot of lead floating around this chamber. But yeah, I don't think that you could use like an iron channel. Like even if you could make like a wrought iron U channel that's like big enough for this whole thing, unless we're talking about like the glass is like a foot thick or something like that, where it could maybe. I almost want to do like an experiment where I just like weld together some iron channels and make stained glass out of it and put it out in some kind of corrosion to induce it to rust. I think it would break. Um, I think the unless you had like a pretty significant gap between the channels and so forth, and that's this whole other problem. Especially considering like they're under a mountain here, so there's going to be some volcanic activity. Might be shaken. All right, here we go. I hope nonetheless the actual book translated by professionals. I feel honored that you decided to read something from Finnish. I have a lot of respect for the Finns overall. They really just have done some tremendous dirt. Um, I like that y'all are joining NATO. I'm happy about that. I usually don't get too geopolitical with Europe, but I think Finland and NATO, it's like a no brainer. Ukraine is like a little, there's like a lot more factors there. But just in terms of how people in the US feel about the Nordic countries in general, I think everybody in the US has tremendous respect for Finland just because of the Winter War. Um, we've always seen them as like hardy people standing up against an aggressor in the East, and like the fact that they were able to sort of gain their independence and fight on and maintain their borders and so forth. We just have like a ton of respect for that. Um, Even if y'all had to like hook up with the Nazis to do it, that's all right. I think that was more in Norway that was all about that. But you got to do what you got to do. And in general, like Americans, from my perspective, have a positive viewpoint of people from the Scandinavian countries. A lot of Marvel movies and stuff like that at the moment, we're drawing heavily from myths from that area. Um, but yeah, like I'm I'm jazzed at reading the story. I'm enjoying it so far, and like I would love to go and visit Finland at some point and see what it's all about there. And yeah, just don't expect your own work to stand up to professionals while you're learning. That's not it. Um, and like working on an epic like that is a great way to practice, I'm sure. But keep in mind that's like the hardest thing that you can do in the field of translation. Trying to take something that is 1,000 years old and hold true to its spirit and then translate it into like a modern English. That's impossible, right? I wouldn't wish that on anybody in the world. And that's the kind of people I know that do this are the people who they are willing to like ruminate for an entire month on one line, right? I know if it might feel like sometimes I'm ruminating on a line for a month, but they really those words matter to them much more than they matter to me, and words are important to me. But at the end of the day, I'm just writing science fiction. You picked the children's version? Yeah, I hear you. Whew. I mean, what's nice is that there's like an existing translation that you can do there. Well, yeah, so we have Emperor of Finland, and then Lisart. Why am I picking up in Finland? Did I have like some code word for that all Finns are drawn to? Do you think that salty licorice is here? Like I don't know how I'm drawing people from Finland. Hmm. I would use GPT to translate it to me and then edit it based on those notes in my own language. I mean, you could do that. I really, I'm not happy that the world is going to be run by machines, but it's inevitable. Like I can't really fight against the turf. Um, but so this is one thing I'm kind of looking forward to though, is that eventually all proofreading will be done by AI, and I would fucking love that. Proofreading is so expensive for me right now. Like, I have if I have a book that's like 200,000 words and I want to get it proofread, a competent proofreader is going to be like 3 or 4 grand, right? That's expensive for me if I know that I'm not going to sell 3 or 4 grand of that book, which I strongly believe the book I have in mind is not going to sell $3 or 4 thousand dollars. So that is all something that could be done by AI. In a fraction of a second. And like when I give something to a proofreader, they're going to spend a month on it. Right? Might as well use AI to translate from English to Finnish and fix the Finnish grammar myself. Yeah. I mean, that is something you can do. Oh, let's see. There we go. Cool. Googled every word I know, checked alternatives and so forth. It's a lot of fun to translate that way. You're going to learn a lot of cool words and so forth. Um, yeah, man. One thing that I haven't thought about um, that we should maybe consider is that every time you have a significant advance in mass media, it tends to streamline down. Oh, there's the backlog. I hope the stream has been going well. I think we have done one page. Yeah, we've done one page in the whole time. A page an hour is how fast we're writing, which means that it will take an entire week to do this chapter at this rate. But we touched on a lot of neat things. So, interesting to consider is that the language changes significantly when you introduce a new medium, right? I'm only talking about English. I love the word granary. If you had ever played Civilization, you would know all about granaries. It's the first thing you build. And then barley is, what's the Finnish word for barley? But barley's good. Without barley, there's no beer. Well, I mean, we make all kinds of shitty rice beer and wheat beer now, but barley's where it's at. So when you have a big advance in mass media, the language changes as a result. You can think about like the transatlantic accent that came up because of radio and early TV. And you can think about the dominance of English language spreading across the world as like the number one business language and so forth. And part of it is America's economic might, but it has much more to do with their cultural might. The movies spreading across the world and so forth. And what you find also is like within the continental United States, the regional accents that we used to have, like it used to be like the difference between somebody from Maine and somebody from Louisiana, like the two of them almost couldn't have a conversation. They could have a conversation and be like, "What is this yokel saying?" And like, "Oh, what's this Yankee up to?" Yeah. So it smooths out the differences between regional orha. Okay, it smooths out the differences between regional accents, and it consolidates the number of words that people say to the ones that are frequently used on television. Like the advent of like radio and television does like this enormous pruning in English where words fall out of favor because they are harder to say, right? Or because they have too many syllables. So it condenses the language somewhat and strengthens the sort of unified language that everybody has. So regional words fall out of favor, like things where you would call, like in the U.S., in some places they call every type of soda a Coke, and in the North they'll call it pop and so forth. But soda becomes our main word because that's mainly what's said on television. Now you take that same practice and you start thinking once everybody is using like some kind of unified chat GPT or whatever to answer all their questions and so forth, their language is going to start to meld to what the AI is spitting out, right? Whatever language model these AIs tend towards, everybody's language is going to shape towards that because the language that we use is so reactive to the language that we encounter and so forth. So there's going to be, it might be like a Tower of Babel moment where reliance on AI and translation, like initially, the fact that everything's going to be translated is going to lead to some diversification in languages and so forth. But because everybody is like essentially drinking from the same well of like AI guided thought and so forth, it's a spot where potentially more and more of these languages will converge, and there's just going to be a change that I can't even foresee as a result of the impact of computer initially guided and then entirely computer executed writing, as that starts to seep in and be the backbone of like all the cultural material we consume. Oh man, that's wild. I'm gonna have to think about that. All right, so I think we're gonna call it for today. We've been working for about 2.5 hours, and I'm out of gas. So we managed to get one page done. I think tomorrow I'm gonna try. What I may try doing is just writing in the first 2 hours, and then I'll spend an hour editing and see how that works out. So I might just try and hammer out the writing, and then we'll go back and edit what I've written. So I might do the writing part off stream, and then just follow up with like an editing part. Although I'll have to like be careful with my intake of coffee, because what happens when I've tried to do that in the past, I've just been like so spun up on coffee because I drink a lot while I'm writing, that I can't focus on the editing afterward. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to give that a shot tomorrow because I don't feel like I'm too easily distracted. Um, and when I'm editing stuff, is doing some work for me, because having people around, I'm able to focus with the audience. But whew, well, a lot of topics today. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all checking out the stream. If you want to read more of this stuff, all my books and stuff are available for free at zachzyz.com. Thank you for tuning in on this Sunday morning. I hope you got some work done while this is going on. And yeah, don't take anything I say too seriously. I'm not a professional, not even an amateur. uh, and yeah, have a good time. Try to get outside, get some sun.